Yo, right here in the small box. Originally, when I saw this, so when I saw people talk about this, in my mind, since the GQ interview, me personally, I did not want to hear nothing this man had to say. Him disrespecting the pillars, all the nonsense he was speaking throughout that whole GQ interview, there was not a thing I wanted to hear from him since that. But because, you know, I see a lot of people watching it, I see HHSB Crew, that's one of my favorites, out of many favorites on YouTube. I go and check it out. I sit down, we all watch together on Twitch. I say, you know what? I might have to watch this one. And I'm going to have to start with this part right here. So since I saw Crew did his reaction to this, I'm going to do my reaction to this. But people that know me, y'all know, even though I'm watching a reaction and I'm watching somebody watch the reaction, I have my own things to say. I have my own things to say, and that's exactly what we're going to be demonstrating right here, right now. I just heard Crew's reaction. I can guarantee you, and I can confidently say, the things I'm going to say in this video are going to be different from the things that he's going to be saying in that video. So let's go ahead and lock in with this one. Yes, we are on Twitter. All right, I don't usually come here, but when I do, it's for something very important. And I'm not going to lie, this conversation is pretty important. So we're going to go ahead and give our own thoughts. We're going to give our own takes about this. And shoot, we're just going to put it out there for the people on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, no intro. We're just going to dive in with this. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the vibe. You know where you at. You tap in with your favorite Canadian reaction channel and network. Let's go ahead and get started and lock in with this bad boy right here. Jay-Z going to be talking, and we got some things to say. So let's go ahead and make it happen. Let's go.
I tell people all the time, never fight against the future. Future's coming. Artists, they would...
Right off the bat, that's something I've been saying. You can't change what is set. Remember when I used to talk about how every decade music evolves? And how from the 2010s to today, 2026, music hasn't really evolved properly. That's long overdue right now. It's inevitable. You want to know something that's also pushing that right now? The record stores, vinyls, CDs, cassette tapes. They're actually, those are making sales. Those units are flying off the shelves again. And actually, a lot of it's coming from the younger generation, funny enough. So especially vinyls, for another consecutive year, vinyls making $1 billion. That's substantial to the change in music. Streaming is not working no more. And artists are starting to realize streaming is not working no more, which is why a lot of them are wanting to be independent. Already right off the bat, I got my own things to say, man. Man, you got to mess with me, bro. Flex my network. Let's go.
Trying to recreate something that was already done. But they're not connected to it like that. They're not living it and breathing it. They were fighting against gravity as opposed to telling their story. We needed that other side. We needed to hear about what happens when you've had 4 successful albums.
And you know what? Here's the thing. I forgot the exact quote Jay-Z said in the first interview, but when he's talking about the younger generation and how it's so much hate, there's so much aggression, there's so much like negativity. What you need to understand is that, and I said this in that video when I did that reaction, is that when it comes to the industry, y'all provide medication. Y'all provide the fix. And I explained this when I was talking about Uzi. When it comes down to the fans, and the fans want something for the moment, when the fans are following the moment after moment after moment, the industry has to respond because they want to capitalize on each moment. The fan wants to be there for each moment. The fan wants to make sure that they get they fix so that they can feel better for a couple months until they get bored or fed up again. Right? That's why I didn't want to watch this, because coming from that interview, this guy's speaking a lot of nonsense and you're supposed to be the great. This the interview that's making you look like the great again. So I got respect for that, but I don't got no respect for that last video. Going back to my point, talking about fans wanting they fix. Because y'all are creating, or the fans are following the moment y'all are creating, and then you're providing the medicine at the same time. Y'all are creating fans that don't have an actual real appreciation for the music today because of recency bias. Because of the fix that you continuously provide, it created recency bias where people forget what came out in this time period, in this decade, which makes people want to gravitate to older music, because older music back then was not made for a moment. It was made for a lifetime. But you wanted to see what was on that other side because you were exploring possibilities of making revenue. That's what y'all were doing this whole time in the industry, which is why the fans are messed up. That's why the fans are negative, because you continuously provided things that were negative, but because it was giving you money, because it was making you profit, you continued to feed the fans to the point where y'all created the monsters. That's what y'all been doing this whole time. Year after year, creating more monsters, younger monsters after younger monsters, to the point where now we got to grow up with these young monsters. And not in a good way. Trust and believe me. It's messed up out there right now. Let's keep going. Any day now, nigga. Shit, bro. Taking like 3 years to start. That's why I don't like my internet. My internet weak.
It's gravity, as opposed to telling their story. We needed that other side. We needed to hear about what happens when you've had 4 successful albums. What happens? What is that feeling like? How do you make the next one? How did you get in the studio? How are your kids? How do you interact with them as this hip hop dad? But if you're trying to make young music and you're not young, it's going to be inauthentic, and people can feel that. You can smell it. So the best thing that anyone can.
At that point, because, okay, I think at this point, this is where we kind of explore a question Crew had from his video where he asked, what is the age limit for young and old in the industry? And there's a simple answer for that, because there's no age to growth. You can be an old head at 20 years old. You can be a young nigga at 45 years old. There's no age that is set that says this is when y'all are old or this is when you're young. There's no age to that, because every artist have their own experience. Every artist sat there and said, yo, I think it's time to level up. And when you level up, you grow up a little bit. You know? When I look at any of the prominent artists today, whether if we're looking at rap or R&B, you've seen the growth with Usher. You've seen the growth with Kendrick, especially Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. You've seen the growth with the Clips, of course. You've seen the growth with who else? Tyler, the Creator, from when he was young till today. The growth is so clear with Tyler. If you're not even watching his content or listening to the content, you're doing yourself an injustice at that point. We've seen the growth with so many different artists. Prominent artists, not weak artists that constantly be saying the same things or be rapping on the same cadence, or just they're not even trying to change. So when you have Young Thug, when you have the 21 Savage, when you have Gunna, when you have the Baby, Lil Baby, when you throw Drake in there, bro, when you look at Drake, it's like he's getting younger every time he dropping something. That's crazy to me. But when you have those artists and they're following the formula that the industry gave them, no wonder they sound the same all the time. You got to constantly recreate yourself and make sure that you're providing quality music for your fan base. That's the job of an artist. You're supposed to find your inspiration to making quality music and making sure that that music really gravitates with your fan base. That's your job as an artist. A lot of artists today are not doing their job at all. They're doing the job that is given to them because y'all don't have the brain capacity or the creativity to do the job yourself. That's wild to me.
Do like going through music is to tell a story and just keep creating from that space. I love what the Clipse are doing right now and how it's authentic to them, and they're telling the story about their mom and dad who just passed away and how deep that is, with John Legend singing on the chorus, and like, you know, everything that they've been through is an authentic display, a piece of classic material that it could have came out 96 or come out 2026. It still feels the same because it's real and it's authentic to who they are.
The funniest part about this whole thing, a lot of people talking about there's a Drake diss in here, talking about the older you get, it's your music is more inauthentic when you're old trying to be young. A lot of people saying that on Twitter, of course. You know, these things originate from Twitter, all the reactions, everything. A lot of people on YouTube, they go to Twitter, they're seeing their reactions. Cool. A lot of people don't realize, especially people on Twitter, when it comes to spotting the Drake diss. I don't think y'all realize it, but like y'all are actively looking for Drake disses. I heard this, and that applies to a Noah's Ark amount of artists. I'm not going to focus on one. Y'all can focus on one artist if you want. Do you understand how many artists this applies to? This applies to a lot of people. I'm not worried about Drake. A lot of people need to understand that part, especially with me. But in general, this is more focused. In general, this is more focused on people on Twitter and their fix. It's like y'all are actively looking for negativity, regardless if it's about one artist that you truly care about or just you're looking for something negative that you can respond to. It's deeper than just one person because you're looking at the whole landscape of the industry, of rap. It's very questionable right now. Being talented doesn't matter. That's the reality of music today, regardless of what genre you're looking at. Being talented does not matter whatsoever. You need a gimmick. You got to be talented and more. You got to be skilled and more. You got to be blessed and more. You got to have something that's going to drive people towards you. And you got to figure out what that gimmick is to be an elite level artist or to be popping in general. And then you got to continuously not necessarily recreate right away, but you got to constantly follow that narrative that you've built for yourself based on what you started with. I'm going to listen to this one more time because this was actually good. I'm not going to lie.
I tell people all the time, never fight against the future. The future's coming. Artists, they were trying to recreate something that was already done, but they're not connected to it like that. They're not living it and breathing it. They were fighting against gravity.
That fighting against gravity, like, that part is so important. You're fighting against what you're supposed to do as an artist. But because the artists are not familiar with what their job is, they're going to allow the industry to tell them what to do and guide them down a path of destruction without realizing y'all are actually driving down a path to destruction. Because you're alone. You're a line of credit. That's your role as an artist today. Just follow what we have for you because algorithmically speaking, this is what's going to work for you. The algorithms are not working right now. They're not working no more. There's going to be a change in music. It's inevitable. Things are changing slowly but surely. We've been having fun with the same thing for a long time. It's long overdue for a change. And that change is coming soon. We just don't know when. But when that time comes, do not be surprised when we have whole new artists out here stomping on a lot of people. I promise you. And if we're going to be real, I'm looking at the outside than looking at the inside. What I mean by that, I'm looking at the whole industry on planet Earth and not just in North America. The industry is changing all over the world in different continents. It's changing here. It's changing there. It's changing over all the way on the other side of the planet. It's changing all the way in Europe. In where else? Where else you want to throw it? In Asia. The whole continent of Asia. Australia. Africa. The industry is changing all over the planet, but here in North America, it's like we're regressing backwards instead of moving forwards. Our talented people are supposed to be at the forefront, but because it's not good enough through the industry's eyes, they don't want to put them at the forefront. They rather have talentless individuals that be speaking light years of bullshit be at the forefront of what we call hip-hop and what we call rap than to actually have rappers at the forefront. So they're giving their hits away. Mind you, remember, let's stick to the algorithmic fact of what's going on in music, that things are created based on number-generated facts printed out for them. You do this, this is what's going to happen. You do that, this is what's going to happen. Cool. But if you keep giving these dudes hits, you're going to continue to give the people they fix to the point where they're going to turn into druggies. That's what's going on right now. So when you go and look at the Meg Thee Stallion and Clay situation, these parasocial druggies don't know the fact that you are not supposed to emulate your life through this person. There is no such thing as having an artist as a monolith. That's crazy. You got to live your own life. You can love who you love. In fact, that's your job as a fan. But to treat this person and the way they live their life as a monolith is destructive to the community. Right? You can love Meg Thee Stallion. But as soon as it starts to get parasocial, you're too far down the river. And you got to come back to land, come back to shore. Because it's getting a little ridiculous out here. Right? But that's the fix. That's the drug. And people clearly loving it because they want to have a national cheat back day for Meg Thee Stallion. That makes no sense. That's what you guys got out of this? Hey, bruh, it takes a village. You know what I'm saying? It takes a village. That's what it is. But nah, that was a powerful point. They're fighting against gravity.
As opposed to telling their story. We needed that other side. We needed to hear about what happens when you've had 4 successful albums. What happens? What is that feeling like? How do you make the next one? How did you get in the studio? How are your kids? How do you interact with them as this hip hop dad? But if you're trying to make young music and you're not young, it's going to be inauthentic. And people could feel that. You could smell it. So the best thing that anyone can do, like going through music, is to tell a story and just keep creating from that space. I love what the Clipse are doing right now and how it's authentic to them. And they're telling the story about their mom and dad who just passed away and how deep that is, with John Legend singing on the chorus and everything that they've been through is an authentic display. A piece of classic material that it could have came out 96 or come out 2026. It still feels the same because it's real and it's authentic to who they are.
Just like that. Now play Michael Jackson's Earth live when he put that Army Soldier M16 down with Aura. I'm sick. Gotta love thyself before loving anyone else. Amen. That is a fact. You know? Bro, and Quickie, let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. I remember exactly what you're talking about. When that dude came out of nowhere with that gun pointed at Michael Jackson's head. Nigga, do you understand how many ladies died in that audience? Do you understand how many ladies died in that audience, bro? As soon as man pointed that gun at his head and Michael Jackson just staring at him, bro, you probably had about 255 ladies just drop dead in that moment. Bro, are you crazy? This nigga was just actively just like killing people by accident. This man out here trying to give y'all like a quality experience with a little storyline to it. And this nigga killing people by accident, bro. It's crazy. Mike looked at dude like, you know the good Lord taught you better. You can see people just getting carried out like, oh, he gonna kill Michael! I'm sick.